Okay.
Recording in progress. That must, oh, shoot. You know what I forgot to do? Gotta fool them. There we go.
Hey, is that one of your Aurora images? That's pretty
It is.
cool.
That's the aurora of the Smoky Mountain Tremont stream.
Ah,
Yeah, they're reflected in the stream.
uh,
I
so uh,
love running. I love running water with the reflections of colors in it. I do. It's pretty.
we had a lot of waterfalls, a lot of water opportunities in the Faroes.
Holy cow, did we ever? More waterfalls than I think I've ever seen there because of the abundance of rain that we received.
Yeah, yeah.
But it made for opportunities that you don't always have.
Opportunities, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, we've announced our Faroe Island trip for those watching this, and I can't promise you there'll be spots. We've already filled 7 of the 10. But if there happens to be a spot open, we'd love to have you come join us.
Good. Any friends that'll be joining us, or are these new people?
Cole, we don't have friends. Yeah, Roberta's coming back. She had such a good time.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she wanted to come back. Yeah.
She's about the best person you could travel with.
Oh
She will
my
have
gosh.
a positive attitude no matter what is happening.
If we could have 100 Robertas on our mailing list, I would be very, very happy. She is a good human, really good human.
Hey,
So
so in our last presentation, you were showing some of your images. And as I looked at them, I thought to myself, John, do you ever feel inadequate as a photographer?
what made you think that? Because they were that
Well,
bad?
well, I'm just asking. Do you ever have feelings of inadequacy?
Oh, that's an interesting way to approach that subject. Wow. I thought those are some pretty good images.
Oh, those were the your good
Those are
ones.
the good ones.
No, but seriously, as a topic, do you ever feel inadequate?
Oh my gosh, all the time. I really do. So much so that in a presentation that I do, I talk about something called FUD, fears, uncertainties, and doubts. The acronym is FUD. And I feel it all the time. Like if somebody, for instance, if somebody says to me, "Hey, would you come?" My neighbor said, "Can you come over and do portraits of our family?" Immediately, I'm like, how do I answer this? Because I want to be nice to them because they're nice neighbors, but
Yeah.
I know nothing about portrait photography. So I write the FUD, fears, uncertainties, and doubts. But it also happens in the Faroe Islands. I come home and I look at a raw file and I go, what was I thinking? Right. And then I go into this process of trying to make it work, which is dumb, really. I mean, it really is. And I sometimes spend 20 minutes trying to make it work and force it to be something. And then I finally say to myself, what on earth are you doing? It's totally contrary to what we like to talk about. So yeah, feelings of inadequacy are real, and I remember in a presentation once, Flint Sparks, who is my co-leader at the Contemplative Retreat, I worded it this way. I said, avoid feelings of inadequacy. And after the lecture, Flint, in his very loving way, because that's who Flint is, he's awesome. He says to me, he says, "Do you mind if I share a little?" And he's, by the way, he's a psychologist, right? So he comes from life, and he's a Buddhist Zen priest, right? So he comes from a very different mindset. He says, you can't avoid feelings of inadequacy, John. You can't. So asking some people to avoid them is maybe not what you're trying to say. He says, would it be safe to say that what you're really trying to do is help them to be aware that they're having feelings of inadequacy, recognize those, and then move through those? And I said, yeah, that's exactly right. So I reworded that part of my presentation to say, be careful of those feelings of inadequacy because they're real. You can't avoid them. You can't. I got to believe we talked about Lenny, Portrait of Breast Cancer. I know because of that story that you share, and you talk about how you told her whatever 3 or 4 times no, and you tried to get her to go to somebody else who that's what they do. It had to be feelings of inadequacy. You're probably sitting there going, what the heck? How, right?
Yeah, I'm always amazed that no matter who they are or no matter how big they are as photographers, they'll share some feelings of inadequacy. We all feel them. And I notice them most when I'm doing comparison.
Uh,
When I look at someone else's images and I think, geez, why didn't I see that? Why didn't I think of that? And I got to tell you too, I post like every couple of weeks an image on social media. And in doing so, if I happen to see another person's images who's got 20 times the likes than one of my black and whites, I think, wow, I must not be very good. But my watch is talking. I hope you didn't hear that.
no,
So what I have to do is I have to say to myself, wait a minute, I'm not trying to be better than them. I know that I have an eclectic taste, and black and white certainly isn't as mainstream as color.
right.
My tastes are very different, and I'm doing what I love. And if that means I'm going to have a smaller audience than John or someone else, that's okay because I'm doing what I love.
Right.
I was in it to compete, then I'd be trying to produce color images like Peter Lick that would get a lot of likes and a lot of wows, and I'd only feel good as long as I kept getting those likes and wows. So I really have to put into perspective why I'm feeling that way.
Well, what I like that you said, Cole, is that you admitted, and I find this to be important because feedback that I do get from lectures that I do, it's a common piece of feedback is, man, thank you for sharing that you too have inadequacies, that you too have fears, uncertainties, and doubts. I mean, they're like, my gosh, because we have all these professionals come and speak to our clubs, and every image they show is like pristine, perfect. And so you walk away from that feeling like every time Cole Thompson trips the shutter, it's another banger image. And that's just not true. I mean, I don't know. I remember Brooks Jensen talking about the number of keepers. He looked at his 250,000 images in his Lightroom catalog, and I think he came down to the amount of things that he actually processed or put a white flag on saying, hey, there's potential here was like 5% or 6%. It's not very many.
Now, I like to say, and I've never measured it, my ratios, I get one great shot per thousand shots.
Yeah.
And the secret to making it look like all of your images are great images, don't show anybody the bad ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the secret.
Yeah.
Uh,
But do you make bad images?
sure, all the
Do,
time.
do you end up processing images that you go, what the heck was I thinking?
Like you said, you keep hoping that you can put lipstick on that pig and make it better. And you have to learn when to say, this is not a good image. As much as I want it to be, it's not.
Yeah.
Throw it away.
Yeah. And your story again, what I like too is that you've learned to meet that feeling of inadequacy when you talked about looking at other people's images, comparing, those types of things, or seeing somebody on social media and more likes, and all those things are that feeding into that feelings of inadequacy. And you've been able to, and that's the message that I really want to get from this show today, is to invite people to pay attention to when those feelings are happening. Like I read oftentimes, and I know they just joking. Well, great. Now that I've seen that, I'm going to throw away all my gear and take another hobby, right? There's some silliness to that, but there's also an underlying inadequacy in that, right? So recognize that those feelings of inadequacy exist for everybody, not just
Everybody,
you. And do what
everybody.
Cole said and what I've learned to do, and that is just go back to pushing them aside lovingly, or maybe saying it better, like Cole, like Flint would say, rather, move through that, meet that lovingly, and then just say, but wait a minute, what am I doing this for? I'm doing this for me, like you just said, right?
Well, I ask myself this question: would I rather create images that I love and have few likes,
Yeah.
or create what others love and have a lot of likes? That's really for me what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know you well enough now for knowing you for years. You're just going to follow your vision and create images you love. And you just
Regardless,
with no
regardless.
mind for how somebody feels about it, like that dumb image behind you today. That's stupid. Okay, how did you do? Did you feel inadequate as I said that, or?
No, actually, I felt validated because if you didn't like it, I know it must be a good image.
Hey, good discussion, bud. See ya.
See ya.